Welcome to Insights into Insurance from the A-Team at Americana Insurance Group. All information provided is educational in nature and not intended to be acted upon without first consulting the appropriately licensed professional.
It's a Saturday morning. That means it's time for Insights into Insurance with Americana Insurance. Mike Whitus along with in studio Tom Sorensen from Americana Insurance. Good morning to you, Tom.
Good morning, Mike.
Snow showers bring
hopefully Mayflowers and corn and beans and all that good stuff.
We need things to dry out for the farmers. There's no doubt about it.
Let's hope when it does warm up and it'll dry out quick.
Let's kick things off as we always do on this Saturday morning with a listener email, and it says, "Hello, Insights into Insurance. I know this might not be a very good question for your radio show because of limited interest, but I'm a contract grower for hog confinement for a large hog operator. My question is, what is my responsibility when it comes to liability on my hogs?" And this was sent in from Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle. First of all, this is a great question for the radio because there is a lot of you growers out there. And also, even though that some of my shows might not be applicable to a certain listener, for some reason, they still really enjoy hearing how insurance works, no matter if they're involved in that type of situation or not. So a lot of times I talk about certain insurance, and there are still things our listeners can use elsewhere.
And we've talked, Tom, before that Americana Insurance puts together a puzzle for you. You have the pieces. They ask you lots of questions. And when you leave their office at Americana Insurance, you're going to know that you have a nice puzzle put together, that your coverage is covered under these all kinds of different circumstances as we're talking about hog confinement coverage. But let's go into both the grower and the owner in this case.
Right. And so people are probably wondering, well, what's the grower and what's the owner? Aren't they the same thing? No. Normally the contract grower is a person or entity that takes care of the hogs at their own farm and gets paid to raise or finish the hogs through an agreement or a contract with the owner of the hogs. So most of the time we have an owner who is just that. They own the hogs that the grower has the contract with and will be the one responsible for the cost of the hogs, cost of feed, vaccines, and then selling them. So basically the grower is just basically taking care of them.
And there are lots of concerns, and as we talk here, let's talk grower or the owner who is responsible for the insurance.
Yeah, and that's, again, great question because there's actually could be two answers to it. As an owner, I would want to be responsible for the insurance, okay? But there is places and situations out there that the grower actually insures those hogs. But why would I want to be responsible for insuring the hogs as an owner of the hogs? Because let's say it's a 2,000 head barn, currently is worth probably about $280,000 in hogs. What if the grower doesn't pay his premium and something happens? Okay, what if he or she isn't insuring them at the current market value? What are the coverages? Do they have suffocation coverage? I myself would want to be in charge of that insurance.
And as we talk through this, you're putting puzzle pieces together as we're addressing Kyle's question about contract or grower confinement hog operator, who is responsible for what. Right. Let's maybe give an example, Tom, on grower concerns.
Right. Yeah, and the grower concerns would be, what does your contract say about the responsibility of a loss? Those contracts are exactly that, legal documents or contracts. And I'm amazed a lot of times at people that come to us and they say, here, I signed this contract. Now, I need my insurance to take care of it? Well, sometimes we can't, okay? There's just not a way of taking care of what you just signed. So the first of all is know what's in the contract, what you're responsible for. How will you pay for the loss? Example, as a grower, how you need to ask yourself, how will you pay for a loss? An example, the hogs you are growing have a suffocation loss. Who is responsible for that loss? Okay, the owner or the grower? If it is the grower and you don't have coverage or not enough coverage, owner sues you, right? Okay, right? That's what I would say. You and the owner come up with an agreement that you might be working for free or a limited pay for some time probably.
Very important when you do sign really any type of contract. You should maybe get with your insurance agent, Americana Insurance, and go through that contract before you actually sign the dotted line. Don't be forced to sign a contract, because this is a prime example of you could be working for free or limited pay if something would happen to this farm.
Absolutely, and that's what you need to know is who is responsible for a loss. And then the other big one is that we see is pit pumping. Who is responsible for a pit pumping loss? Many contract growers do their own pit pumping, or they hire actual pit pumpers that do this job. Both can come with responsibilities and issues. Negligence, okay? To have a claim, there could be negligence or has to be negligence. Example of my two insureds, one was a pit pumper and the other is a hog owner. Both had coverage with me. This is an actual example. There was a rock in a valve that agitated the pit and suffocated and gassed $60,000 in pigs.
Wow.
Okay? Yeah, not a small loss. So the pit pumper, there was not a payable loss because there was no negligence. He did everything that he should have done. Okay. The thing is, there was a rock in the pit that ended up getting in the valve. Okay. In almost all farm and commercial policies, there are exclusions of pollution. Pit gas is considered a pollutant. Coverage denied again. The owner had coverage on the hogs. Again, coverage denied to the exclusion. Okay, so both the owner and the grower need to know what's in their policies. Okay, so now as the grower thinks a pit pumper will be responsible for the loss, I would ask, who is the contract with the owner with, you or the pit pumper? So is the pit pumper doing this work for the owner or the grower? Okay, the grower might have been the one that went and got the pit pumper. Okay, did you hire the pit pumper? Did you do your due diligence to see what type of insurance coverage they had, if any? Okay.
And a lot of times, Tom, on these pit pumpers, you're in a situation where you need to have that pit pumped. You're not looking to make sure that they have the proper insurance. You just need that pit pumped, and lo and behold, something could go wrong. A rock, as you say, in the pit pumper. Next thing you know, you've lost your livelihood.
It can get into the hundreds of thousands of dollars very quickly. So I went out and searched the world over and did find a surplus lines carrier that will cover pit pumpers, which means coverage from a company that the surplus lines which means coverage from a company that writes insurance on a non-typical daily run of the mill business. Okay. And they would lift the pollution exclusion. However, there still would need to be negligence on the pit pumper's part to trigger a claim payment. And I know that you probably aren't familiar with pit pumping, but you can do pit pumping and have a suffocation loss, and you could have done everything right. Okay? Those are the things that just happen. It's very dangerous. If a human goes into a barn and there's agitation or whatever, and the gas comes up, you could be dead within a matter of a few seconds.
Very important to get with Americana Insurance and make sure you have the right coverage.
Yep. And then lastly, I went to a large national carrier, very large, where I do many of my hog confinement owners coverage. I know the president of the company very well, of this national carrier. We go back many years in business, and I said, geez, Tim, your business is insuring hogs and livestock. You need to insure them for pit pumping. By gosh, my carrier actually went and got a pit pumping coverage, and they did it on a trial basis, and now I can offer it to coverage to some of the hog owners out there. They don't automatically cover those people. I have to do an application and see if they were wanting to do coverage on them. They have to meet certain criteria. So.
We're going to take a quick break here, Tom, and when we come back, let's talk about some of the owner concerns on having coverage with hog confinement operations, and we'll do that after this break. You're listening to Insights into Insurance with Americana Insurance. Mike Whitus along with Tom Sorensen. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the owner concerns.
Listen, what is on your side? You have a side that is retired, playing tag and getting tired. A side that owns your own store. Looks like you need to explain some more. That That's why there's Nationwide. They help protect and grow your many sides. Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
For all your many sides, there's Nationwide. Call Americana Insurance Group in Albert Lea and Wells today.
Welcome back to Insights into Insurance with Americana Insurance. Mike Whitus along with Tom Sorensen. And Tom, we're talking about policies for hog confinement coverage. Let's talk now about some of the owner concerns. How do they get paid?
Yeah, and that's where I insure a lot of owners and I insure a lot of growers. So I know a lot about both. The owner concerns is, first of all, these are some of the things that I would think about is how will a claim get paid if there's a loss? Who insures the hogs? What coverages do the hogs have? What if a claim is a mistake made by the grower? Those are the four things. Here's some recommendations I would make to the owner is get a certificate of insurance from the growers that they have liability coverage or even coverage on the hogs if you want them to have the coverage. And then make sure your contract states that the grower must have a care, custody, and control coverage on their farm policy. Why? Because almost all farm insurance policies where the grower thinks he has liability coverage has a care, custody, and control exclusion. Not all care, custody, and control coverages act the same also. I want to make sure that everybody knows that. I did much research on this and found about 10 different companies' coverage forms on this coverage, and all 10 were different. But it is a nice coverage to have. Make sure your growers have the following qualifications. These are all in case of failure. Generator, at least a manual if curtain-sided barn, and an automatic generator if it's hard-sided, or I call it hard-sided or metal-sided barn. Make sure the grower does a generator log and test them at least once a month. I have some that do it weekly, every bi-weekly. Have automatic curtain drops if the curtain-sided barn, and then have an auto dialer system. Make sure your contract defines the working relationship also. Why? I don't think you would want them to be performing as an employee, etc., like a work comp. If you don't define that employee relationship or grower relationship, they might think it's an employee relationship, which I don't believe you want.
And also, Tom, when you're doing this and you visit with Americana Insurance, I would think it'd also be a good idea to have that insurance policy readily available, not stashed somewhere in a file cabinet, but in case something would happen, you have that policy ready to show the authorities.
Right, absolutely. And the other thing is if you are a grower, make sure that you contact your owner ASAP when there is a loss, okay? Example, some of my carriers, if you destroy those hogs before a veterinarian can come out and do a thorough investigation and tell you what, there might not be a claim paid on it, then again, whose responsibility is that? It probably would fall back onto the grower, okay? So make sure that you wait to hear from the company on how to proceed.
And of course, both the grower and owner, you have some recommendations.
Yeah, and that's the best thing is, if I could say one thing to the owner and one thing to the grower, is work with people you trust. And make sure you know what your contracts state as an owner and as a grower. As an owner, you might have had the attorney put this together. Make sure, and might not even read it, make sure you know what that states.
And make sure before you sign the contract, you visit with Americana Insurance to make sure all of these topics, we only have 15 minutes, but make sure all of these things are covered before you actually sign that contract.
Again, this whole program, I could have made it into an hour program easily on this. I'm just giving some brief statements on it and the things that we have seen, and I've seen it, quite a bit of it through the hog confinement world, and it's an awesome world. I mean, I really enjoy working with them, but there is a lot of complex things that can happen.
The number, Americana Insurance, 507-377-2000. Again, that number, 507-377-2000. Or, Tom, they can contact you via the World Wide Web.
Yeah, they can go to our website of americanainsurance.com, or they could email me at insights@americanainsurance.com and keep the questions coming.
507-377-2000. That's the number to Americana Insurance. And you can always email questions to insights@americanainsurance.com, and we'll try to address those during our next Saturday program. Tom, thanks for coming in on this Saturday. Enjoy the weekend.
You too, Mike. Take care.
That's our Insights into Insurance program with Americana Insurance here on 1450 KATE.
You've been listening to Insights into Insurance from the Americana Insurance Group. All information provided is educational in nature and not intended to be acted upon without first consulting the appropriately licensed professional.